right, so in this video, I'm working with model Yuli. She's one of my favorite models. We've worked together many times now. Always have a lot of fun when we work together. The idea was she comes uh, wearing jeans, bikini top, something kind of sexy. We're going to keep it real simple. For this lighting setup, I just wanted to use one light and I wanted to use hard light. Shoot pretty much straight on. Maybe try for some shadows. We just have to see how it looks. Just going to have her against a white wall and just go for it. So I'm using just my 8400 and a Magnum Reflector and model, and let's get into it. Okay, so really enjoyed that session with model Yuli. She's such a great model. We had a really good time doing that and working with the Magnum Reflector and the hard light. Um, just cast a really nice, even though it's hard light, just shooting straight on like that, it looked really good. If I had even moved it to the side, you can see we get hard shadows. That's cool too. I just liked it straight on pretty much, and I think it looked really good going straight on like that. So really good shoot. We got so many great shots. She's such a good model. I was so pleased with her performance. I mean, that's just one. I mean, we just got so many good ones. I could go through. There's a lot of shots that I could edit. And you didn't even see the whole session. I wasn't able to record the whole session, so you just saw part of it. But this probably ended up, this one here being my favorite shot from the session. And this is the final edit after Lightroom and a little bit of Photoshop. I did some cleanup in Photoshop, maybe a little bit of dodging and burning, and that's it. Let me show you the original shot. That Magnum Reflector, it's pretty bright. And so you can see here, I was a little bit overexposed here on this particular shot. I was at ISO 146 millimeters using the Tamron 28-75 at f6.3, shutter 1160. So I had my light a little bright here, but I do have the clipping on. Nothing was clipped, so we were good there. Thank God for RAW, right? I can just bring the exposure down just a little bit, and now we're in the ballpark, right? So bringing the exposure down gets us pretty much in the ballpark, and then I'd probably I'll want to crop for Instagram and clean up some of these distractions here. So let me go ahead and do that. Pretty much get the crop the way I want it. About right there, looks good. And we'll go ahead and see the shadows and highlights. Let's just see what happens adjusting those sliders. That looks good. I'll bring the highlights down to about right there. I think texture, sometimes I'll bring that down, just kind of gives it a skin smoothing effect. We'll bring the vibrance up. I'm always up around between 15 and 20 somewhere. And we'll go down and do the sharpening, always up around 60, 70, masking at around 80. And that looks pretty good for the basic edits. And then what I'll do here is bring this into edit in Photoshop. And we'll get rid of this little distraction here and maybe this right here. So I will just Control J to duplicate my background layer. Let's just use a clone stamp. Use the right and left bracket keys to resize your brush. I'm going to set my flow at about 30%. And I will hold down the Alter option and just get a sample, say, of this area right there, and then just start painting in. Get another sample right here, and that's gone. And then we've got this up here where there was some writing up there on the wall. Now that's gone. So we've pretty much cleaned up those distractions. I mean, I like this shot pretty much the way it is. I'm going to go ahead and we'll do a dodge and a burn layer. I'll create these manually just to show you how I do that. It's just a curves layer. So go to your adjustment layers, create a curves layer. And we'll call this one dodge. And dodge is just where you want to add highlights. So take your curve here and bring it up because we want to add highlights. That would be dodge. And then come down here and select your mask and hit Control I for invert, and that turns it off. Now what you want to do is go over here and grab your brush, and we'll set the flow about 5%. And you paint with white onto the black mask, and that reveals the highlight effect wherever you paint it on. So you can target your highlights with this curves layer by painting white onto the black mask. And we'll create a burn layer, another curves layer, and we will just bring burn means darken. So we will bring it down, right? Just like that. And then we'll hit Control I, make sure the mask is selected, hit Control I to turn it off. And then we would paint onto the burn mask to darken the areas, right? So let's start with burn because really that's probably what I want to do more of. Again, make sure this is set to white. Your primary color is white. Make sure you got your brush. Make sure it is set to hardness of 0%, flow of 5%. Make sure that you have the mask selected, not the curves properties, the mask right there. And then resize your brush, left and right bracket key, and you can just start going over the darker areas, the shadows, to accentuate those, right? And we'll just hit some of these darker areas, and it just gives it more of a contouring effect, right? And we don't need to do much. And we can even do some of the shadows in the shirt as well if we want to, right? Just gives it more of a three-dimensional effect. Now let's go into, not really much we need to do on the face. Maybe just hit some of these. We can contour the nose just a little bit. Maybe right here on the cheek. You can see my light was straight on. You see the catch lights are just right there in the center, top of the eyes there. So let's go to the dodge, select the mask, and then we can start kind of dodging some of these highlights, right? Go up here and make the brush a little bigger, a little smaller here, kind of blend that part right there. Get some on the lips, just right there. Looks good. And then we can come down and maybe hit some of these spots here. Again, just hitting the highlights, and that's pretty good, real light. If we wanted to, we could do the irises, and you could do it on a separate layer on a dodge. I'm just going to increase my flow to about 20%. And you can see right here, there's a little reflection there. We might want to brighten that a little bit. Right here on this edge and this edge. See that? We could get a little bit here underneath as well. You just don't want to give her, alien eyes. So that's pretty good. I don't really feel the need to do much else. I'm going to hit Control S to save it. And we have it now back into Lightroom. And I might want to bring, you can play with the exposure a little bit more. As I said, it was pretty bright to begin with, about right there. That brought it down to about minus 0.14. Just a little final adjustment there. I feel like that's pretty good. Let me see what happens when I bring the blacks down just a little bit. Gives us sort of a little more contrast. And I'm done. We could, you could go back into Photoshop. There's some marks on the wall here. You can clean that up too. Just use your spot healing brush tool to clean those up if you'd like to. Overall, I'm pretty much done with the image. I really like it. And that is it for today's tutorial. Thank you for watching. Please give it a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you're so inclined. And I appreciate your support. Have a good one.